Turning now to a very heated domestic issue here in Israel, the race for mayor of Jerusalem. Yesterday, a candidate that was making history in the race decided to drop out. Aziz Abu Sarah, a resident of East Jerusalem, was seeking the mayorship even though Israeli law bars him from the race because he does not hold Israeli citizenship. I'm very happy to be joined by Aziz in studio to discuss his decision to drop out. And also joining us is Middle East Affairs correspondent Emily Rose, who has been covering the race and Aziz's candidacy. It's good to see both of you. Thanks for coming on, Aziz.
Thank you for having me.
Emily, I want to start first with you before we go to Aziz. Tell us a bit about this really crazy race for Jerusalem, the capital of the state. This year, it's a very, very heated contest, isn't it?
This heated contest is also kind of a microcosm of the landscape of politics that we generally tend to see here in Israel. Yeah. You have an ultra-Orthodox candidate, Deputy Mayor Yossi Deutsch, and then Zev Elkin, who is modern Orthodox. He's considered to be religious, but not ultra-Orthodox, and there's a big difference there.
And he just got support from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, of the ruling coalition leader.
And Nir Barkat.
And Nir Barkat as well, right.
That's right. So he's got the Likud behind him. And then Ofer Berkovich. And each one of those candidates is slated to get about 22% of the vote. But it's very indicative of the fact that we see this on a general scale in Israel. We have a candidate who is not the left's ideal dream of a candidate, but he does appeal to both the religious and could garner votes from the secular group. And he's set to give the other two a run for his money. That's Zev Elkin, and he's got that right.
And there's also a dark horse, I think, that's coming in now, Moshe Leon, who just got support from most of the ultra-Orthodox parties in the race that could push him to the next round of voting, maybe even make him mayor.
He could get to the next round, but he's only projected to get about 11%, and we'll see if he can give the others a run for his money.
It's all about, I think, who the ultra-Orthodox vote for. They're a major, major force in the city. I want to go now to you, Aziz. Before you tell us about the dropout and why you decided to run in the first place, tell our viewers a bit about yourself. You were born in East Jerusalem.
Right. I'm born in Jerusalem. My family is from Jerusalem. I grew up in the city, went to school there. When I was 10 years old, my brother was killed in the first Intifada. He was arrested, beaten up in prison, which resulted in his death. I grew up very active. I was a youth activist, Fatah activist when I was in school, mobilizing, protesting, writing, doing all that kind of stuff, believing that this is the way to help people. And then I ended up learning Hebrew in Ulpan, and that experience has helped me to understand also the other side.
Just getting to know the language, right? Just learning the language helps you to...
Because a language is more than just a language. A language is about culture, it's about people, it's about trauma, it's about... You learn so much when you learn a language, and I think that's why, in some ways, I feel always I know more about Israelis than Israelis know about
You're
us,
probably right.
Because not many Israelis, none of the people I think you mentioned in the race speak Arabic.
I'm sure.
Which I wish they would.
Yeah. But what you're talking about that change that happened when you decided to learn Hebrew. What was that change? What did you learn, and what did it change about your views about the conflict?
Look, Israelis often tell me, oh, we have a peace movement, but we've never seen the Palestinian peace movement in return. And I always respond with, I grew up for 18 years. I've never seen the Israeli peace movement. It was internally within your communities.
Yeah.
And in Ulpan, I met my first Israeli peace activist, who was my teacher, who I don't know how much of an activist, but she was the first person who spoke against the occupation to me. And that made me start rethinking and not seeing everything as us versus them, but realize those of us who are for justice are on the same side, regardless if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're Christian, if you're Arab, whatever you are.
Okay. And, well, since you decided, before you decided to run, you worked at the George Mason University, National Geographic, and, of course, your own tourism company. You've done all of that, and then you decided to go into politics. Why did you decide to run for mayor?
Well, I worked in places like Afghanistan and Colombia and Syria, so I thought Jerusalem wouldn't be that tough after all. But in reality, coming here, and on our tours, Majdi tours, we get to travel around Jerusalem, and I see east and west, and I see the problems that people face, the lack of housing, the fact that people cannot build, the garbage that doesn't get collected, I mean, the lack of classrooms, all these issues. And I felt that somebody should take a step. We seem to have a void in leadership. There's no strategy of how to deal with it. And the question I ask myself, why not me? If no one else is doing it, then I should step in and help and try to come up with a new strategy. And the elections were coming up, and I thought, well, here's a new strategy.
And what kind of feedback did you get when you started? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't accepted very warmly by everyone on the Palestinian side.
Yeah. No, it wasn't.
Well, we can talk about the Jewish side later, but first let's talk about the Palestinian side.
No, it wasn't accepted that greatly by some.
Yeah.
I think mainly leadership-wise we're terrified of this change of status quo. Some people were angry enough to go and throw eggs at me at the press conference. But as I started talking to people, actually I got overwhelming support. A lot of people were afraid because of the pressure, because of people who saying this is betrayal of Palestine, this is recognizing the occupation. I don't think so. International law doesn't say so. The mayor of Jerusalem under the British mandate was Raghib al-Nashashibi for 14 years. He was Palestinian. It didn't mean accepting the British mandate. I think this argument is nonsense. And the truth is, about a third of the Israeli settlers in the West Bank are in East Jerusalem. And we have so far not developed a strategy to help the locals in Jerusalem. So I've argued back and forth, and I found some support. Look, in some studies and research, there have been almost 60% of people who say they support participating in the elections. By Hebrew University.
60% of the Palestinian population of Jerusalem.
Right.
Right.
60% is a significant number. Now, not all of them.
They don't vote.
Right, and there are reasons for that. One is the lack of polling stations. There are like 2, 3, 4 polling stations for all of the Palestinian
is it the question of the chicken or the hen? Maybe because they don't need...
No,
if they're not going to vote, they don't need the polling stations.
Well, but it goes together. When there aren't many polling stations, then those people who are trying to scare them from going to vote, it's very easy. You have just a few guys outside those 2, 3 stations, and then people are afraid to come because there are people there who want them, prevent them to come.
So that's one reason.
The other reason is that people get intimidated and threatened about not voting. And it's not that they don't want to vote. But the third reason, there were not candidates who I think represented them.
Right.
So who were they going to vote for? Zionist organizations, Zionist parties, Likud and Labor?
But then you decided to drop out. Not too long. I mean, how long did it last from the announcement
it made
to the decision?
It made a lot of noise.
It did make a lot of noise.
It made a lot of noise.
Which is why you're here. Why did you decide to drop out?
Well, first, I decided I wanted to run for mayor. And legally, I couldn't because I'm a resident, so I wanted to go to Bagatz, to the High Court, to challenge it. But then I went a few days ago to renew my travel document because I needed to travel for a conference that I was speaking at.
Yeah.
And I was told, oh, sorry, we can't renew your travel document.
The travel document. Okay, yes.
Because your residency is in question mark, because you don't spend enough time here, you have foreign citizenship. And my question was, wait a second, but most of my Jewish friends in Israel have also more than one citizenship. Many of them travel a lot. I own a travel company. That's my life, is travel. And they said,
and that's the reason for...
Well, they told me we can give you a visa if you want to travel because we cannot right now settle your residency. So I have now to have a whole new fight about my residency.
Okay, because that's a whole new fight. You were planning on going to the High Court just to get, the ability to run as mayor. I want to talk with you, Emily, a little bit more about this legal issue. Enlighten us a bit about this.
So this legal issue, I actually spoke with Professor Dan Miodonik from the Hebrew University. He's the author of that poll that you mentioned that found that about 58% of East Jerusalem Arabs do show interest in wanting to go to the polls.
Right.
And I put that question to him. I said, so what is with this legal residency status? And you've had a lucrative travel business that has brought droves of tourists into East Jerusalem for years, and your residency status has never come into question. And he said this is pretty much the oldest trick in the book. He's seen it used several times in Israel in general to sideline Palestinian candidates. It's almost very reminiscent of the birther argument that we see used, or we saw used when Obama ran. I wanted to ask you, did you see this coming? Because we've seen it used as an old trick. Did you take any legal precautions to make sure that that would be in effect?
Not at all. I thought my only legal struggle is going to be about the High Court. And when I went and asked to renew my travel document, I was completely stunned when I was told, oh, we can give you a visa. And just to understand, if I don't have a residency, I'm a tourist here. And that's a problem in the way we are treated in Jerusalem, is that, yeah, you were born here, but you really don't belong. The moment there's a way to get rid of you, we will push you out as fast as possible.
And let's say you didn't have that problem and you did have to go to the High Court eventually. Do you think you would have passed that hurdle?
I think we would have.
You think you would
Yes.
have?
I have so many people who have called and emailed, and they said, look, we might not be able to come in the media and say, yeah, we support you, but we will go and vote for you. Even those who are afraid said, we will go and vote for you on the Palestinian side.
Right.
I also got quite a bit of support on the Jewish side, and that was encouraging for me to see both Palestinians and Jews saying, this is something new, there's something hopeful. Young people, Palestinians, were saying, finally, there's a different voice, there's some strategy that we didn't know existed. I think we would have at least got a couple of seats.
Emily, there was a response, I believe, from the mayor's office, Nir Barkat's office, about this?
I did. I just had a chat with the spokesperson for Nir Barkat, and I put that question to him exactly what we were speaking about when we had our interview about East Jerusalem and how East Jerusalemites feel that it's been neglected by the municipality. And he argued the other way around. He said Nir Barkat, as a mayor, has invested a lot of money in East Jerusalem. He said that more than 800 new classrooms in East Jerusalem, with another 1,000 in the making. He talked about lengthening the school day and investing in roads, infrastructure. I mean, what do you say to that when you hear that the municipality is saying we're really trying to improve life for residents?
I want to take him on a tour. I want to take him and show him places where my brother live in Kufr Aqab, where the municipality has completely neglected. Or
But did he add 800 classes? I mean, is that...
I'm not aware of these numbers, so I won't dispute them, but
okay.
I know what I see on the ground.
Yes.
I mean, I see the garbage that doesn't get collected over and over and over again. I see that there are many roads where my brother lives in Kufr Aqab that are still dirt. You know what? Where my uncle lives in Wadi Joz, I just took a group to film there. Wadi Joz, the heart of Jerusalem, no pavement as well. So I'm not saying he's not maybe trying, but the reality is only 10 to 12% of the budget of Jerusalem municipality goes to East Jerusalem. We are almost 40% of the population. So yeah, he might be adding a few things, but come on.
Has this battle, or maybe I'll call it a setback, has this setback changed the way you look at things?
No, I think... Well, it changed the way I look at things, but I'm still feeling optimistic. I think we have changed the way people look at what's happening in Jerusalem. It got some Israelis to say, wait a second, if we have one state, this is what's going to happen. Are we willing to accept a Palestinian mayor of Jerusalem? That's an important discussion. It got Palestinians to say, wait a second, there are people, right? There are people who are taking initiatives that are different than what the Palestinian leadership necessarily wants us to do. And there are many young people who are doing that. It changed the conversation. It gave people some ideas, some hope. And from that perspective, I think it's important. It's also challenged the legal issues. It highlighted the situation of, Jerusalemites like me face in Jerusalem. So all of these are good things and are important to do. So I feel good about it. I am disappointed that I'm not able to run. I'm disappointed that some of us received the threats from our own community, from people who thought should support us. But overall, I think it still was a positive thing.
Just one last quick question. Any chance you might try to run again if the papers, for example, are sorted out?
Well, if they sort it out today, if we can call Aryeh Deri and he sorted it out today,
the Interior Minister,
I'll come back. Yes, I'll come back tomorrow and.
Tomorrow. Well, I don't know if that's going to happen. Let's say another few years. You think you might run will you stay in politics?
I don't know.
You know.
It's too early to decide.
That's an honest answer. Not every.